All right, let's talk about critical infrastructure, the backbone of modern society. We're talking power grids, water systems, transportation networks, the stuff that keeps our lights on and the water running. In the good old days, attacking this stuff meant blowing something up. Think big explosions, lots of dynamite, classic Bond villain stuff, but in our shiny digital world, things have changed. Now you can cripple a country with a few well-placed keystrokes. No explosions necessary. Just ask the Ukrainians, they've been dealing with this from Russia for years. The problem is our reliance on digital systems has created a giant blinking weak spot. Hackers, criminals, and even some governments are licking their chops at the thought of exploiting it. Imagine a blackout that lasts weeks, hospitals unable to function, cities grinding to a halt. This isn't some dystopian sci-fi movie, it's a very real threat. The big question is, are we doing enough to protect ourselves? Spoiler alert, probably not. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about facing reality. We've got to get serious about cybersecurity and fast. Because in the 21st century, protecting our digital infrastructure is just as important as protecting our physical borders, maybe even more so. For centuries, wars were fought on battlefields with tanks, guns, and good old-fashioned human misery. But the digital age has ushered in a new era of conflict cyber warfare. Now, instead of sending troops across borders, nations can deploy malware and launch crippling cyber attacks from thousands of miles away. It's like a really messed up game of Risk, but with real-world consequences. Remember the Stuxnet worm? This bit of nasty code, allegedly cooked up by the US and Israel, infiltrated Iran's nuclear facilities and caused centrifuges to spin themselves to destruction. No bombs, no bullets, just a few lines of code. It was a wake-up call to the world. Cyber warfare had arrived, and it was here to stay. But it's not just nation-states that are getting in on the action. Cyber criminals are like the digital equivalent of opportunistic scavengers, always on the lookout for easy targets. They're after your data, your money, and your ability to function. And they're getting scarily good at it. So, what's changed? In the past, attacking critical infrastructure required physical access, manpower, and a whole lot of explosives. Today, all you need is a laptop, an internet connection, and a healthy dose of malicious intent. And that's a terrifying thought. Remember that old saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link? This age-old wisdom holds even more weight in our modern interconnected world. Well, in the world of critical infrastructure, that chain is made up of interconnected systems, and there are a lot of weak links. Each system, no matter how robust, can be compromised if even one link is weak. Our power grids, water systems, transportation networks, they're all linked together like a giant digital spiderweb. This web of connections allows for seamless operation and efficiency, but it also means that a single point of failure can have widespread consequences. And just like a spiderweb, a single tear can bring the whole thing crashing down. The fragility of this interconnectedness is a double-edged sword. This interconnectedness, while efficient, creates a massive vulnerability. The more connected we are, the more entry points there are for potential threats. Think about it. If hackers can breach a seemingly insignificant system, they might be able to hop over to another, more critical one. This lateral movement within networks is a common tactic used by cybercriminals. It's like leaving the back door to your house unlocked. Sure, it's just the back door, but it still gives burglars access to everything inside. Once inside, they can cause significant damage or steal valuable information. This interconnectedness also means that an attack on one system can have a domino effect, cascading across multiple sectors. The impact can be far-reaching and devastating. Imagine a cyber attack on the power grid that causes blackouts, which then disrupt water treatment plants, cripple communication networks, and bring transportation to a standstill. The ripple effects can paralyze entire cities or even countries. It's a nightmare scenario, but it's one we need to be prepared for. Proactive measures and robust cybersecurity protocols are essential to mitigate these risks. The takeaway here is simple. In the digital age, everything is connected, and that means everything is vulnerable. Our reliance on technology makes us susceptible to cyber threats. We can't afford to think of cybersecurity as someone else's problem. It's a collective responsibility that requires a coordinated, multi-sector approach. Governments, businesses, and individuals must work together to protect our interconnected world. Section 4, lights out, water out, world out, targeting essential services. So, what are the prime targets for a cyber attack? What could bring our world to a standstill? Well, let's think about the things we rely on most. The services that, if disrupted, would cause immediate chaos. First up, the power grid. It's the backbone of our modern society. Imagine a successful attack that plunges entire cities into darkness. The impact would be immediate and far-reaching. No lights, no refrigeration, no internet. Our daily routines would be thrown into disarray. It'd be like camping, but without the s'mores and with a lot more societal collapse. The ripple effects would be felt everywhere. Next on the hit list, water infrastructure. Remember Flint, Michigan? That crisis was a wake-up call. Now imagine that on a national scale. The consequences would be catastrophic. Tampering with water treatment plants or distribution systems could contaminate our drinking water, leading to widespread illness and chaos. The health implications alone are staggering. And let's not forget about transportation networks. These are the arteries of our economy. Hackers could disrupt air traffic control, derail trains, or cause traffic jams that make your morning commute look like a walk in the park. The economic impact would be severe. The scariest part is that these systems are often outdated and vulnerable to attack. Many of them were built decades ago. We're talking about software that's old enough to vote and security protocols that are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. It's a ticking time bomb, and as we connect more and more devices to the Internet of Things, the risk multiplies. We're essentially handing hackers a master key to our critical infrastructure. Every connected device is a potential entry point. That's not a recipe for success, it's a recipe for disaster. The stakes are incredibly high, and the need for robust cybersecurity measures has never been more urgent. Section 5. The Hacker's Toolkit, Sneaky Tricks and Digital Trojan Horses. Time for a crash course in cyber villainy. In this digital age, hackers have an arsenal of tools and tricks at their disposal, making them more dangerous than ever before. How do these digital delinquents actually get in? One word: phishing. This is one of the most common and effective methods used by cyber criminals. Imagine getting an email that looks totally legit, maybe from your bank or a trusted website. It's designed to look authentic, with logos and language that seem genuine. You click a link, enter your password, and bam. Just like that, you've handed over your sensitive information without even realizing it. You've just handed the keys to the kingdom to some shady character in their mother's basement. But phishing is just the tip of the iceberg. But it's not all so low-tech. Hackers are also highly skilled in exploiting software vulnerabilities. Hackers can exploit vulnerabilities in software, using malware to sneak in and wreak havoc. This malware can be incredibly sophisticated, designed to bypass even the most robust security measures. Think of it like a digital Trojan horse, disguised as a harmless file but carrying a payload of malicious code. It can be hidden in an email attachment, a downloaded file, or even a seemingly innocent link. Once inside, this malware can steal data, disrupt operations, or even take control of entire systems. The consequences can be devastating, affecting everything from personal data to critical infrastructure. Then there's ransomware, the digital equivalent of kidnapping. This type of malware encrypts your files, making them inaccessible until a ransom is paid. Hackers lock you out of your own systems and demand a hefty ransom to give you back control. It's a terrifying scenario, especially for businesses that rely on their data to operate. It's like that time you refused to pay the mob for protection, but instead of breaking your legs, they encrypt your entire computer network. Not fun. And paying the ransom doesn't guarantee you'll get your data back. The bottom line is, hackers are constantly evolving their tactics, finding new and creative ways to exploit our digital weaknesses. They are always on the lookout for new vulnerabilities to exploit. It's a constant game of cat and mouse, and we need to be one step ahead if we want to protect our critical infrastructure from these digital desperados. Vigilance, education, and robust security measures are our best defenses in this ongoing battle.